What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about killing it in order to rest. This is something that actually we see a lot inside of the manosphere, which is really funny to me because this is something I've done for so long that honestly, it's like I get online and it's no wonder that I'm one of these, like, I'm here recording these things. I know these things just like these other guys do. So, we're going to talk about it today. Killing it in order to rest. This is what they call ghost mode. That's been a recent trend, going ghost mode for a while, or, like do not disturb, whatever it may be. And I want to show you how I do it. I want to show you what I do, what I focus on, how I actually put this together and make this work, because this is something that I do a lot. A lot of people don't understand this kind of life. They don't understand the content game. They don't understand the business game. And so we see these things come out online, but we have no idea what actually is happening inside of the back end. And so I want to show you some of those things today. We're going to talk about a couple things that I really try and focus on while I'm going ghost mode or while I'm killing it in order to then be able to go ghost mode. I want to talk about doing what you do before you go into the state and then what you do inside of the state, because I think more people talk about what you do inside of the state, but really no one's talking about what you do before. So I want to talk about what you do before and then what I do inside of it once I do get there. So let's get into that right now. The first thing that I really do is I plan ahead. You can't do any of this without planning ahead. Now, be warned, this is going to involve a lot of planning and a lot of planning ahead. You're always going to need to plan for things. Like, planning is just a part of life, and if you want a good life, you darn better well plan. So, we're going to start by just planning out what are we doing with our life right now. And I do the steps here before, and I also do them after. But for me, as a content creator and as someone who is always making content, I actually have to plan out, how am I going to make this content? When is this going to be posted? When is it scheduling? There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. This is a business. This is not just something I do for fun. And so it's a growing business. And right now, this podcast, I've seen huge, massive growth over this year. Most of you guys listening are here from 2023, and some of you are here from before. But I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. And so that's really awesome to me. And I want to be able to bring this into these next years, but I have to do that in a way that actually is conductive for my own life outside of being a content creator. So I need to really make sure that what I'm doing is well thought out, well planned out, and then well orchestrated and executed, so that I don't end up getting burned out or like, ugh, or all of these crazy different things that end up happening to you as a content creator. People all the time are like, hey, they're content creators and they just get burned out. I was watching a video about Mr. Beast, and I know this is a tangent, but stick with me here. I was watching this video about Mr. Beast, and he is in love with the game. He's in love with the game, and so making content for him, it's not about the end goal. It's not about the destination. It's not about getting the certain amount of money or the certain amount of subscribers or whatever the metric might be. It's about actually making the best content in the world. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to make the best videos in the world, the best YouTube videos in the world. That means he has an unlimited time horizon to actually do that. So I'm in a very similar game. For me, it's all about what is the heart behind my content, and that's what I want to bring to you. So I have to think all of these things through, and I have to make sure that these are planned out ahead of time. And some people aren't as good at planning as other people. I like a mixture of being able to plan stuff out, but also going with the flow. Learning how to be flexible, so important. So here's a couple of the things that I actually physically do when I'm going through this season where I may be making a lot of content, and I know I'm going into a season of not making a lot of content because guess what? Little tiny secret here. I haven't recorded anything in 2 months. I batched so hard. Like, people don't understand this game. You see it and you think that, oh, he's just making a video. You just see it and you think, oh, he's making a video every single week. I'm showing up to this work every single week, but I'm not always recording a video every single time I sit down. I'm not always recording, editing, uploading. There's so much more for me that goes into this than just that. So I record a lot of stuff. I edited a lot of stuff back in October. I scheduled all of it out. I had interviews. I've been on interviews since. October was insane for me. September, October, November were crazy, crazy months for me. But now we're here in December. And I wanted November, by the way, to be a restful month. And it very much was. It was part of this kind of like leaning back experience for me. But it was in a different way than I imagined it, just because stuff comes up. That's how it goes. But I got to have fun. I got to just be myself and hang out. And a lot of that comes from doing these things. So I haven't actually talked about a single one of these things on the list yet, but all of these other aspects are so important and they play into it. So it's very worthwhile. So the first thing I do, maybe you saw this coming, cut social media. That's pretty easy. Now, the reason I mentioned even the content creation game to begin with is because A, that's what I'm doing, but B, as someone who makes content for social media, I'm on social media quite a bit. The difference is that I'm not on social media as a consumer. I'm on there as a producer. So I'm not spending a ton of time just scrolling. Sometimes I do. I got to catch up, see what's going on, see what's relevant in life. I have friends and people that I want to catch up with and see how their life is going. But I'm not just constantly on social media just for the pure benefit of what can I get out of this right now. I'm using this as a tool. It's a different frame of mind. So I'm not on social media. I'm not posting. I'm not worrying about having to post. And I'll get back to that later. Number 2, I assess my current life. So I was batching. I had a ton of stuff I was doing. And I had a very busy, hectic life at that point because I was doing so much of this work ahead of time. Because you have the same amount of work no matter how you spread it out. It's just where are you doing it? So doing way more work up front means that I have to do less of that work later. It kind of peaks and then dips into a valley. And my goal is to go up to that peak and then be able to just enjoy that valley. So that's what I was doing. So assessing my current life. Then I want to assess the steps for my future life. What's going into this after? Where am I going next? How, this is important, how are the things I have currently in my current life, the bridges I've built, the connections I have, the opportunities I have, how are those going to translate? What is that going to look like if you're thinking of this as a chess game? Where are the pawns going to move as I continue forward into my current life? I've had a very dramatic shift in the workplace and in the marketplace because now I actually have skill sets that aren't just apprenticeship skill sets. And now I'm still learning, but I've been doing this stuff for a long time now. And so I can start offering services to other people, to other clients, something I've been doing for a while, but now I'm actually being able to do that even more. But that means that now, okay, I'm competition for these other people. So those bridges, those relationships that I've built, they might change a little bit. The pawns across the board are going and moving in different places. And so I want to see, how am I showing up and representing myself inside of these spaces to actually make sure that I maintain good relationships, that I am being an honest person, that I'm being a fair person, that I'm being someone who is patient and kind and loving, not self-centered, not keeping records of wrong. That's just 1 Corinthians 13. And so I want to be loving to the people who I'm serving and working with. And that's really a really good thing to do. So I do that. I assess my current life, and then I assess how it's going to move into my future life, the steps I need to take and where those pawns are going to move. Number 4, I work out. Now, I'm never not working out, but I really make sure that I'm prioritizing working out. And I want to get into a headspace where this is one of the primary things that I'm doing. If I'm going to be spending all of this time not recording or not doing this other work, then what am I filling that time with? What am I putting back into those time slots to be able to do stuff and still be productive? And usually I don't have to worry about that because life takes care of that for me. I live a very different life from most people. So it means that I get to live time where I just focus on other things. I'm never less busy. I don't just sit around, watch TV unless I'm watching it with family and it's like a movie night. I make sure that I have that time and that time is still intentionally spent. So I'm working out and I'm filling my time with other things. But I'm also trying to get into that headspace of prioritizing working out and saying, all right, I've been doing a good job with this. I know my goals. Let's reassess my workout goals. Let's reassess where I'm going with this. And a lot of this is really just kind of basic stuff. This isn't too difficult to navigate or think of off the top of our heads. But it's really important still that we figure it out ahead of time and that we're figuring it out during the process because life is crazy and we want to be able to have as easy of a time as we can as we're going through this and as simple. And that brings me to number 5, which is, this has been a big thing for me this year. I really try and minimize drama. I am so fed up with drama. I'm just done. A lot of personal life stuff has brought me to the point where I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm tired of having to navigate things and, like there's just a lot of different ways that drama affects you as a person in the long run after the fact. When you think about, this is a very extreme example, but traumatic events that happen, like world events, you got like tsunamis, you've got tornadoes, hurricanes, those kinds of things. Very dramatic, very intense, and very traumatizing for someone. But as much as I can minimize the little pieces and the tiny pieces of drama in my own life that come through relationships I have with other people, like you can't do anything to prevent a hurricane, but you can do a lot to prevent where you're spending your time and what you're allowing inside of your own boundaries, inside of your own emotional field, and how you respond to that as well. So we need to make sure that we're minimizing drama. That's like the entire theme of this year. I really have enjoyed just like lightening up a little bit, taking it easier mentally, which in turn means that I have worked harder this year than I have in the past. It's like you don't have school stuff. I don't have school stuff right now. You don't have a lot of other things going on in your head, taking up your headspace. And so the entire idea here is that we're quitting all of the life apps that are running inside of our brains and inside of our lives so that we can really just focus on updating the operating system and taking care of the operating system, scanning it for viruses, scanning it for malware, going through old files we don't need anymore. Like, oh, I remember this, but this doesn't apply to me anymore. Like, maybe it's hurt over a past relationship. Maybe it's whatever it could be. Like, you remember that time that like, I don't know, whatever. It could be an embarrassing incident that you had years ago, but you just take it and you just put it aside. You're like, delete, I'm putting this in the trash. I'm going through all this stuff, throwing it in the trash, and then I'm just emptying the trash can and we're done. That's done. That's over. It's it. And so that is really super important and really refreshing because then your system starts running faster. You start having a sharper, clearer mind to be able to think. And that ties back into health. That ties back into working out. All of these things are interconnected because we live lives that are not solely just about the mind or just about the body or the spirit. They're all connected and one affects the other. And so we need to make sure that we have the time to say, all right, I have some breathing time now. Let's see, how is my mind doing? How is my body doing? How is my soul doing? How is my spirit doing? Like, am I feeding what I need into my system here? Am I clogging stuff up? Am I getting junk and getting viruses and like listening to bad music? Or am I listening to people who aren't maybe the best influences? Or am I hanging out with people who aren't the best influences? Those are all very cliche examples, but they should help prove this point and convey to you what I'm trying to say here. So minimizing that drama is really important. And then after we've done all of these things, it's just there's quiet. There's quiet around us. And we can say, okay, now let's do all of that again, but this time not from a place of the hectic work that goes in beforehand. We're doing it from a place of quiet and calm where we can really focus on this. And that makes a huge difference in life. That makes a massive difference. I've been able to focus on a lot of other things that I just don't have the time for when I'm recording content. And this is important. Content recording is just as important as anything else. But we want to make sure that we're getting the other back-end stuff done that needs to get done. That we are going and finding new opportunities, not in a, oh, let me jump on this, let me jump on that kind of way. But like, how can I expand? How can I keep growing? Where can I find new connections? Where can I continue branching out the tree that I am growing? And that is very important for our lives and for us as people in general. We're made for community. We're made for relationships. Sometimes it gets dicey. Sometimes it gets difficult. I've been reading Desire by John Eldredge. I love his books. And he talks about some of that kind of stuff. Like, desire often comes with a lot of pain. Going after what we really want often comes with a lot of pain and sacrifice and loss and the types of things that it's just hard to deal with. And that's because we live in a broken, sinful world. So I'm cutting out all distractions as best as I can. Life stuff is still going to happen. But now, because I've cut out my access, my portal, my gateway into the digital realm and the rest of the world, all the problems are just here at my doorstep. It's whatever comes up to my doorstep. It's whatever happens inside of my home and in my family. And we read in the Bible, right? as far as being a leader. You need to make sure that you can take care of what's inside of your home, what's inside of yourself first, then what's inside of your home before you go and lead the church and other people. So we need to take time back for ourselves to do that. And that's what this is all about. And that's what those guys say it's all about too, in some ways. Sometimes it's just like, and it's kind of like motivational, masculine, deep stuff. And like, yeah, I'm a very masculine man, but also I have other aspects to me as well that are just different. And I don't apologize for that. And I'm not going to change that. I'm going to hone and shape and craft those things so that I'm a better, stronger person in the future. And this is also time where I can say, okay, remember that whole idea of like, well, what would 40-year-old me do? The way that I live right now is trying to be more like the way I want to be when I'm a father, when I'm a husband, when I'm a leader inside of local communities, and I'm already trying to establish a leadership presence here with the stuff that I know. But I'll continue learning and I'll continue growing, and I have a journey to take of my own, and I'm going to be held responsible for the people that I'm leading. Myself, my wife, my children, and all the other people who listen to this podcast. And so I really need to make sure I'm taking this time, and you need to make sure that you are taking this time to actually be able to clean out your operating system. Just go through and close all those apps, all those tabs. You've got one playing music, one's playing some ad that you've heard a billion times. You've got music playing in the background that you were actually trying to listen to before the other ones turned on, and you just don't even know what's happening. I don't have that problem, thankfully. I'm a digital minimalist, but that's a conversation for another time. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that you guys actually can think about that. What work should I do now? What work needs to get done now? How can I front load some stuff, take on a little extra this week, this month, or this last whatever quarter, so that, like quarter of the year, so that the next time I have a break, maybe the next time school lets out, I can just breathe and I can chill and I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff getting in my way. And I can close the tabs and then I can close the apps and I can just update the operating system. I can clean it out. I can scan it for the malware, the other things that need to get cleaned, the junk. And then I can reapproach whatever it is, like for me, content creation, with a fresh mind, a clear head, and a fresh start, because your motivation does go down. Motivation is a feeling of desperation, and then we get through, or we think we're starting to get through that desperation, whatever it is that we really need, and then we get that high of like, yes, I'm doing this, this is great, I'm on top of the world right now, because it's like, hey, we're overcoming this challenge, we're overcoming this problem that we're having, and so that makes us feel great. But then we see, oh, this is actually a lot harder than I thought, and then we get bleh again, and now, Alex Hormozi talks about this, and it's great. But we end up in that state of informed pessimism instead of uninformed optimism. And that's a whole other conversation for another time as well. Like, there's so many conversations to have. That's why we have these podcasts. So I hope that was helpful. How can you front load? How can you really kill it right now for the next time whenever you end up having a break again, so that you can just close all the apps, all the tabs, update that operating system, clean everything out, and reapproach whatever you do with your life in a way that can serve God with a clear mind, a clear heart, and ever-growing wisdom. That's my challenge for you, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for listening, and hey, Happy New Year, and we got some cool episodes coming up, so definitely stick around for those because I'm excited. All right, I'll talk to you guys next time.